Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Primus Propositions vodcast here, the Lion Roar. I'm joined as usual by my colleague, Nikki Hemmings. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, Matt, and welcome everybody to our special episode of Hear the Lion Roar.
Indeed, we've actually got 3 guests joining us today, so I'm going to introduce them one by one and get them to just tell us a little bit about themselves. So we're on today to talk about Apply from 27tec, so no surprises where our first guest is going to be from. Rhys Powel, National Account Manager from 27tec. Hiya, mate, how are you?
Yeah, very good, Matt, thank you.
Good stuff. So, Rhys, 3 questions that I'm going to put to you, which I'll put to the other 2 guests when they join us. But who are you? What's your role? And why are you here today to talk about technology?
Yeah, so as you said, Matt, I am Rhys Powel, the National Account Manager for 27tec. So I look after the relationship with Primus directly and predominantly around Apply, as you've mentioned. So on this podcast today, to talk about Apply and what the benefits are and how we can drive adoption and what we've seen in the early stages since we've gone live with yourself from the middle of April.
Excellent. Thanks, mate. So our second guest is from Virgin Money. So we're joined by another National Account Manager. We've got Matt Martin. Hiya, Matt.
Hi, how are we doing?
Good stuff. 2 Matts, that could get confusing, mate, but we'll try our best. So same 3 questions to you. Who are you? What's your role? And why are you here today to talk about technology?
Sure, nice one, Matt. Yeah, so I'm one half of the national account team at Virgin Money. Been with Virgin Money for 4 years now, coming up to 4 years. Prior to that, prior to working at Virgin Money, I worked in both the BDM role and national account team at Lloyds Banking Group as well. So plenty of kind of experience. I have the absolute pleasure of working alongside our network and clubs, and also our fintech firms like 27tec. So I get a real feel for what the intermediary proposition needs and wants from a mortgage lender. And I guess really for the topic we're talking about today, I'm really keen on encouraging advisors to embrace change when it comes to how they transact with any financial provider. I'm sure this is going to come out more as part of the session, but over the last 2 years, I've seen and heard firsthand what a successful integration looks like. And so I'm encouraging advisors to embrace that change.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt. So our third and final guest, last but definitely not least, is Rachael Hunnisett, who's also National Account Manager, but she's got new build in your title, Rachael, as well. So National Accounts and new build, Rachael Hunnisett, hello.
And Matt, hi Nikki, lovely to be with you today. So I've said Rachael Hunnisett, National Accounts and New Build Lead here at Skipton. At Skipton, one of our key strategic priorities is to use technology to enhance our proposition while retaining that kind of human touch where it adds value. An extension of that is our integration with 27tec Mortgage Apply, and I also look after the Primus account from the Skipton perspective as well. So I'm delighted to be with you today to talk about both halves. So thank you.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Thank you, and hello to the 3 of you, and thank you both. Thank you for the 3 of you for your introductions there. So we'll kick off with the questions then. Rhys, I'm going to start with you. Talking about 27tec adoption, we switched on Toolbox integration for all Primus brokers in April, and we are delighted to be able to offer this journey as part of their Primus package. Talk to us about Apply. For those who haven't tried it yet, what are the key benefits?
Yeah, of course. So firstly, it's been great to see the adoption since we went live in April. I think, Matt, we've worked really closely together since that adoption or since that integration went live back in April. And for those of you who do know what Apply is and what it offers, then the adoption's been fantastic and we've exceeded the target of what we expected to see when we first started talking about what adoption rates should look like by 10% in the first quarter, which is fantastic. But coming to your question, Nikki, so what is Apply? So Apply is our integration that essentially goes from source into Toolbox and vice versa, all the way through from Toolbox into source, then into Apply, but it allows advisors to submit an application to a lender, but directly through our portal. The difference by doing it with ourselves is what Apply enables advisors to do is allow that data to transition from Toolbox into source and then into Apply. So as a benefit to an advisor, as you can imagine, it allows them to not need to rekey that data on multiple times. We know at the current state of the market and where we are, how much pressure advisors are under to submit business as quick as possible because of all the influences that are coming through at the moment. So what Apply allows them to do is, like I say, transition that data all the way through. That's the obvious benefit in terms of time saving. The other benefit that we try to push out there as well is that margin for error, because as you can imagine, with time pressures and time constraints, it all of a sudden influences that compliance side of an advisor journey, where they want to make sure they get their cases right first time. And I know probably Rachael or Matt, you have your own right first time, or however you phrase it within your respective lenders. You have your targets and goals on that as well. And advisors within a network as well will have those targets. So from an element of getting those cases packaged right from the offset, and not having to rekey that, whether it's that client's name or whether it's that income, and getting a digit wrong potentially, it's removing that error that can potentially influence a result on a case, or a result on your own sort of compliance side of a case as well. So that's what we're doing with Apply. And like I say, in terms of adoption, early signs have been really, really promising. It's just about, from me, getting that message out there in terms of really showcasing the benefits as well. It's great that we talk about it, but obviously showcasing through training that Matt has kindly helped support and set up with the Primus network, as well as obviously promised sort of a good outset or a good insight into the next couple of quarters as well.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Rhys. I'll move over to you now, Matt. So Virgin Money, you're a massive high street lender, and you're switched on to the integration. Why have Virgin got involved in these, and what do you see as benefits to the broker, and in turn for their clients if brokers use the integration?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nikki. So I'm probably going to bore everyone just a little bit. I need to do a bit of storytelling just to really demonstrate how much we believe technology is a major part of our industry. As advisors may or may not know, we're on a journey in terms of our group's brands and new Virgin Money. So far, advisors and customers will likely have seen our exciting rebrand of the group across things like credit cards, business banking, current accounts, and more. To carry on that trend next year in the mortgage space, we will be retiring Clydesdale brand and launching a new proposition that encompasses effectively the best of both, the current Virgin Money and Clydesdale banks. And this will be branded Virgin Money. And where we get to the technology piece, it will mean a new single point of submission for those two retired brands, if you like. So the point about the importance of technology, we knew 2 years ago that our current technology, VMO, was and is essentially a system that we will retire, but we still invested and worked really hard with the team at 27tec to be the only mainstream lender who had that dip and full app integration. And then looking ahead from another angle, we will have a nice shiny new system, but will still be integrated into 27tec. And so still giving advisors complete flexibility to submit business via one of the two routes. I think for advisors, the benefits are easily quantified from our point of view. We did some research and we found that generally advisors can save anything from between 20 and 40 minutes if they utilise Apply, compared to duplicating that information on the full app within VMO. Now, at a time when advisors are under pressure to submit applications due to rate changes and submit applications quickly, we feel this is vital. That 20, 40 minutes is time back to the advisor. And actually it's time that could be potentially spent speaking to and interacting with the customer, ensuring the application is fully packaged, which, hopefully isn't a new message, but will shave days off the average offer turnaround time. And then I guess thinking about the customer outcome, an advisor being able to keep one set of information within Toolbox saves potential mistakes in the application having to be keyed on the lender's point of sale system. As we all know, any mistakes on the lender system can result in applications being delayed or declined. So that hopefully that gives you an idea from our point of view. And without question, the benefits of the integration are threefold.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Matt. So Rachael, a similar question to you as well now for Skipton. You are a smaller lender than Virgin Money, but you still do a decent amount of business and are a well-used lender in the industry. You were switched on only a few weeks ago. Why apply for Skipton?
Yeah, absolutely. 11th largest lender in the UK, so small but not too small, I'd like to add. Look, for me, it's really simple. It's really well put by Matt as well. We're all in this industry united in one mission, and that's to drive the best possible outcomes that we can for customers, right? And an extension of that is enabling mortgage brokers to do more of what they love the most, or at least for all of our sakes, we'd really hope so. That's speaking with their clients, isn't it? Less time on the more kind of admin heavy side of the job, utilising technology to kind of enhance the human side of the business. So that means kind of on our side, that's still having underwriters to have someone you can speak to when you want to speak to them. That aligns with our strategy at Skipton. So sort of Mortgage Apply for us was a really natural next step in that evolution for us. Just before we came onto the call today, I was reflecting back, and it must have been three or more years ago at least, maybe longer. I was ushered into a room, and I remember seeing a demonstration of Mortgage Apply for the very first time, long before it was live. So you'll probably have a better idea of timeline on that than me, Max. It all just blurs. Everything pre-COVID is just one big blur, isn't it? But I started out my career as a mortgage broker, and to be honest with you, I remember sat there thinking, wow, this is really going to change things for brokers. So it's really exciting to be here talking about that today.
Perfect. I think, loads and loads of valid points in what we've talked about so far. I guess, Rhys, a valid question that I want to ask that a broker would probably ask if they were here today is, what do you think some of the hurdles are for them to overcome? If they've not used Apply already, what's stopping them and how can you help them?
I think that is the hurdle you've set. The hurdle is in the question itself. It's that if they haven't used it before, then as with any technology, it's something new. So the minute you start using something new, you're always going to be that little bit wary of does it work the same way as if I did go direct to, say, Skipton or Virgin, for example? Is it going to be exactly the same? What am I going to see? What happens if this happens? And from our side, what we've done is really try, and I mentioned it in the first question, but we've really tried to roll out the right level of training and the right level of support. The ones who really adopt Apply are the ones who actually, if they are struggling, for example, they come and ask for that support. They don't just say, I'll stop there and I'll go direct and I won't benefit from, like Matt said, those 20-40 minutes that you could potentially save. That education piece is the biggest part of what's really driven adoption for us, because the system is there to use. It's advisor friendly. Once you get used to using it, when compared to using a lender's portal directly, you'll see those benefits that I talked about in the first question that you asked. But essentially it's that education piece, because there are slightly different. So we're really we're in a really good space with the likes of Virgin and Skipton, who have that full mortgage application journey. We've got some other lenders who will only do a dip, for example, or what we call a data transfer journey, which is essentially where you do the dip but get the result in the lender side. So it's about educating the advisors on not just what the system looks like, but what are all those finer details. So what are those different journeys and how do they benefit the advisor still? Once we can overcome that and those initial, whether you want to call it fears or worries, whatever you want to call it, once we overcome that, then all of a sudden you see the people that we speak to and we run that training with, they know what they're doing. And if they don't know what they're doing, we've given them the right people to talk to. So we've got our help desk team who are fantastic for, if you're in the system and you've hit a barrier or what you see as a barrier, they can go into the case and actually see what that advisor has done and say, actually, if you change this to this, then you can carry on. So it's just about that upfront case support from your training, first of all. You've then got your account managers who, if you want to run a question past them before you submit your case, you've got them. And then once you're in the case, you've got your help desk team as well. So we've got someone there for every single step of the way to give you the right level of support. And like I say, part of that is just getting the training out there as much as possible. From myself, as you know, Matt, just being vocal with panel emails to the whole network and saying if they want any support, then please come to me. And I'll reiterate that message now. If you do want any training, let us know, because we've always got time in the diary to be able to support as many people as we need to as well. So once we get over that side of things, then that's where we really start to see adoption skyrocket as well.
Perfect. And we've had really great feedback on the training you've delivered, Rhys. So I'd encourage anybody who's watching this back to absolutely drop him an email and get yourselves booked on if you haven't already. So thanks, Rhys. Matt, coming over to you, and I am going to throw you under the bus and put you on the spot, mate. So I hope you can remember a conversation we had last week. You and I were talking about two dreaded words in our industry, robo advice. So not two words we regularly talk about anymore, but we did get onto that subject. So sorry to put you on the spot, but I think the conversation you and I had really fit into the whole Apply piece. Do you mind sharing with the wider audience what we were talking about?
Yeah, happy to, because I think it feels like a positive one, to be honest. So indeed, robo advice. So probably best to highlight what robo advice is, first of all, just so we're under no illusions. Essentially, robo or digital advice is an interface that will allow a client or consumer to access advice around, their own financial situation without having to speak with a mortgage advisor, or perhaps even a mortgage advisor doing it on their behalf. I think the industry has in some way gone to embracing what you might want to dub semi-robo or even hybrid robo advice. I know Primis are utilising the tech of Mortgaging, which is fantastic. That's essentially going to be a customer being given an idea of perhaps lending amounts from lenders, and even perhaps rates as well. Now, over the past few years, the question has always been posed: will robo-advice sweep through the mortgage industry and make mortgage advisors obsolete? And I think perhaps a few years ago, it was a perfectly valid question. But now, sitting here, I think based on what we know, I personally don't think that will be the case at all. Quite simply, and I believe, and I think everyone on this call believes, that technology is an enabler. In fact, Rachel, I think you kind of said that a few minutes ago. We've seen the way that other industries' technology has been driven solely by consumer and customer demand. Take the likes of Amazon, Google, Uber, my 10-year-old girl, and TikTok. Consumers want to interact in a certain way. And as I've said, technology is and will be an enabler. It will allow advisors to be more productive and work smarter. But I believe that customers still want to have that conversation and interaction with their mortgage advisor. Because let's face it, this is likely to be the biggest transaction of their lives, and they don't want this computer says no, or even computer says yes. They want to be able to talk to someone. And I think topically, if we think about consumer duty regulation, which has just been confirmed within the last few days, that being launched, and in particular within consumer duty, vulnerable customers, there still without question has to be the human approach to advising. But comes with a caveat: don't be left behind with technology advancements. In particular with the apply system, we have seen those they've tried it once, and pretty much they've always come back for more. And I would just encourage advisors to embrace change, give it a try, be that advisor that tries it once, and then you'll find yourself coming back and giving it another go.
Definitely, mate. You don't know what you don't know, do you? Fundamentally, if you've not tried it before, you can't moan about it. So absolutely, give it a bash. I couldn't agree more. Thanks, Matt. So Rachel, coming back to you, we've talked a lot about the positives, but what advice would you give to brokers out there who haven't tried the integration yet? And I guess, subsequent to that, are there any pearls of wisdom that you can share to support the wider conversation?
Firstly, absolutely echo everything Matt just said about robo-advice. What a fantastic way to summarise where we've come. You look back a couple of years ago and we were all kind of mild level panicking about what that meant for us all, and it's really turned around. And that's a really well presented way of kind of consolidating last 2 or 3 years in our industry. So I just wanted to really echo that and absolutely do share that view. In terms of what advice to give to brokers, do you know what? For me, it's just an absolute no-brainer. Lucky earlier in this year, I went along to one of your Primis Leadership Excellence events, which was a fantastic event, really enjoyed it. And I sat with some really great people who are all making huge steps to develop and grow their own businesses. And while they were talking about that, the topic of conversation was how to expand, they were all talking about how to hire more admin support and the personnel challenges that brings with it. And I couldn't help sitting there. I sat there with my mouth glued firmly shut, because this was before launch, thinking, oh, you know what, you guys are all about to have access to something that could really transform your business and really drive efficiency and minimise that risk of human error that we touched on earlier. And guess what? Mortgage Apply won't call in sick, will it? Or leave you with short notice. These were all some of the things that people were grumbling about at the event. And as an ex-broker myself, I really do think that the impact Apply integration will have on the ability for a broker to really focus more on client-facing activity and less on laptop-facing activity, if you want to call it that. Well, I just really don't think that can be underestimated. And from my perspective, the more lenders that join us on that journey, the better it is for everyone. I probably won't say too much. I'll leave that for Rhys to discuss.
Brilliant. Some great points there that hopefully will encourage brokers to give it a go. Rhys, just out of interest, how many lenders do you currently have on board? And without breaking any kind of NDA, can you kind of share how many that you are talking to?
Yeah, it kind of follows on from what Rach just kindly led me into there. So we're currently at 12 lenders on Apply, and that's taken quite a lot of traction this year. We've had some real success this year with who's come on, and also the integrations that they've come on with as well. Like I mentioned in the previous question, we've got some at data transfer, some at FMA, and obviously, like Rachel mentioned, they've come in at FMA with Skipton, which is fantastic. I can't say who, obviously, but we've got a couple more coming through over the next couple of months. The real promising side for me is Now we're getting more lenders coming on, and Rachael kind of touched on it in her answer just then. Seeing more lenders comes on allows us to have more conversations with more lenders. So Kevin and Nikita in our lender national account management team have those conversations and have those relationships with the lenders. And obviously the more that they can have more lenders to our disposal, they can then go and have the right conversations with the right people as well. But that also means that we need some support from advisors as well, because lenders want to see that adoption in order for them to think this is worth investing in. And obviously the ones that are on with us already have seen that promise by what has been sort of evidenced with adoption already. But there's some out there that want to see that bit more, and that's where we really talk about making sure we can drive adoption as much as possible to really give Nikita and Kevin the right weight to have the right conversations going forward. It's very much chicken and the egg, I say. So you've got lenders who want to see adoption, and you've got advisors who want to see lenders coming on to adopt. So we kind of want to meet on that middle ground where we can say we're getting enough adoption to then go off to these lenders and really bring them on board. And that's obviously bringing new lenders on, but we want to see enhancements to the current integrations as well. So I'll reiterate it again. You know, Rachael and Matt are both on an FMA journey from Virgin and Skipton side, but we've got those lenders who are on data transfer, who are on DIP, that we want to try and enhance those integrations as well and bring them up to an FMA journey as well, because all of a sudden you go from saving 5, 10, 15 minutes on a DIP to 20, 30, 40 minutes on an FMA. So the more lenders we can get at FMA and the more lenders we can bring on to maybe an initial DIP or FMA, we've talked about the time saving benefits. All of a sudden you've got 30 minutes here, 40 minutes there, 20 minutes there, and all of a sudden an advisor's day can look very, very different from what it would have looked had they not been adopting or when they first started adopting. So it's about that piece of just really working together from my side with the advisors to then working with my lender team, or the lender team, not my lender team, working with the lender team who can then obviously work with the lenders directly as well. But we've got a really good process within 27tec where we do communicate as much as possible across both teams to really get that message from lender to advisor and advisor to lender. So we're all working in sync at the same time. But hopefully as we go through the next 3 to 6 months for the half year two, you'll see another couple of lenders coming on board that will obviously excite the advisors as well. So watch this space for that one.
Brilliant.
We'll hold you to that, Rhys. Thank you. Very good. So I guess just in summary from me, before we wrap things up then, you know, it's a tough world out there right now. There's a cost of living crisis. You know, if I was a broker right now, I don't know whether I'd be able to keep up with my email inbox in terms of how many rates are being pulled on a daily basis or changed or whatever. You know, it's tough. If we've got something here to offer a broker the opportunity to save time, my question to anybody watching this is, why would you not want to do that? So give it a bash. We welcome any feedback. We're getting some really positive feedback. We're running out of time for me to actually read that feedback. So what I'm going to do at the end of this vodcast is I'm going to just pop up on the screen 3 bits of feedback that we've had so far from Primis brokers. So I'll leave them on the screen at the end as we finish, but don't just listen to us, listen to some of your peers. So if you're a broker watching this back, other brokers are telling us that this has saved them a decent amount of time and they are loving it. So if you've not tried it yet, please listen to what Rhys, Matt and Rachael have all said. It's cracking. It will save you some time, and we need to get some more positive feedback on the boards that we can pop up on the screen, really. So just give it a bash. You don't know what you don't know is what I've already said. So we'll leave it at that, folks. Matt, Rhys and Rachael, really enjoyed that conversation. I think we've got some really decent points out there. So let's hope we get some more people on board. Thank you muchly, guys.